besai utime boloe nengu meseder kiwe Poro babin namba eles me ingong isi eles me ajab Murwina na omole ay nyambe Hawanda emleme nyambe yetam yena tiyeki Uriaki asege bewanjele Hawanda emleme nyambe yetam yena tiyeki Utime boloe nengu meseder kiwe Poro babin namba eles me ingong isi eles me ajab Murwina na omole ay nyambe Hawanda emleme nyambe yetam yena tiyeki Uriaki asege bewanjele Hawanda emleme nyambe yetam yena tiyeki
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today for this show. I see that there are several people who are signing up now. I'm going to give this thing a minute or so, and then we're going to jump into the show proper. But for starters, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Ari Obenson. I'm the president of I Am Cameroon. It's always a delight and pleasure for me to be to get the opportunity to talk to you about the purpose of this organization. But I Am Cameroon has been around since 2013, and basically has a vision for all Cameroonians to take ownership and action for the nation. The way we're going to do this is through the mission of the organization, which is to educate, inspire, and engage Cameroonians to assume and accept responsibility for the future of the nation. I'll repeat, to educate, inspire, and engage Cameroonians to assume and accept responsibility for the future of the nation. This mission is manifested through programs like we are doing today, which is really educating ourselves, inspiring our audience, and engaging the Cameroonian population to accept and assume responsibility for the future of our nation, because no one is going to do that on our behalf. The expectation that is another person's responsibility has never really helped us as a country. And this is our strong appeal. We know it's proven in other parts of the world that when citizens get involved, when citizens accept and assume responsibility, they actually make a difference. And so we're hoping that we can be that catalyst that pushes Cameroonians to accept and assume that responsibility for the future of the country. And this quote by Nelson Mandela, as we do every time we have a show, is really use a quote to just awaken our consciousness. And today, the one we picked is, it always seems impossible until it is done. So the things we talk about, the things we aspire for, the things we hope for, seem impossible because they have not been done before. But it can be done. And this is what Mandela represented in this quote, in a speech that he made in 2001. that when we talk about eradicating poverty, when we talk about building a prosperous society, when we talk about equality, when we talk about having a clean environment, it always seems impossible because we're looking at life from the prism of what obtains around us, from what we see, from what we know from the past, that we fail to see what the future can be. It looks impossible. That this notion of Wakanda that we've seen in the movie seems movie-like, but that movie in itself is it's an awakening of the African consciousness, that we can dream and imagine of an Africa that is prosperous and leading the world to a new future. It always seems impossible until it is done. And it takes just a handful of people believing in what that future can be, educating, inspiring, and engaging others to ensure that we achieve that future that we so hope for, so aspire for. And even more complex is the idea of what we intend to achieve with an audacious goal that we have this year. Really audacious goal. And that audacious goal is the project that we have been talking about now for the last 2 months. It's the big goal that we have. That's not just an I Am Cameroon goal. It's a goal for every Cameroonian. And that goal is to mobilize 5 million Cameroonians to clean up 237 in one day. It's really important that the keywords that stand out in this big goal is mobilize. One, this cannot be done by a handful of people. That if we want to have the kind of impact that will make the difference for the future, we really need to mobilize. We need to mobilize in the rural areas, every village and hamlet and town and city of Cameroon. We need to mobilize people in every area, at every level of society to participate in this initiative. Some people would be more engaged than others, but that's the way it has to be. We need leaders on the ground who become the mobilizers, who are engaging local authorities. So we have to mobilize. Second, 5 million people. 5 million people represents about currently, if we look at the last census of 25 million people, that represents 20% of the population of Cameroon participating in this. It's big, it's audacious, but that's a significant number that can change the way we think about our role and responsibility. And obviously, the cleanup. The end goal is for people to wake up on September 17 and look at their neighborhood and feel good about it. The end goal is to ensure that out of our work, we can save the lives of people who are dying as a result of the garbage heaps that are across the country. That out of our work, maybe we can see an increase in agricultural production this year. That out of our work, maybe we can save homes from being flooded when the next flood comes around. That out of our work, we can open up the waterways, that we can feel proud about our communities, our cities, our quartiers as a result of our work. That's our hope. That's our big, audacious goal that we have. And it's only going to be possible if people across the spectrum of Cameroonians in the diaspora and back home join us in this movement to make this happen. That's our hope. That's our goal. At this point, I'm just going to pause here, and I'll open this up to everyone, especially in the I Am Cameroon board for contributions. But first, let me have a conversation here with Tabe Massey, who is fresh from Cameroon. Tabe, we all in this group particularly saw the unfortunate incidents in our beloved Boya with the floods that that took place there recently. And for many of us, we just couldn't stand back and not do anything. We've been thinking about what is it that we can do? How can we get involved? You know, and many of us are in the diaspora. Obviously, we have people in Cameroon, but I just wanted to get your thoughts first about this project, and then we could talk a bit about your experience in Boya and your engagement there with authorities there.
Yes, thank you so much, Ari, for the question. I was in Cameroon last week, and from Douala Satellite to Boya, there is a difference, and I'll tell you upfront, by virtue of the fact that there are no bensikins or motorbikes in Boya, kind of made a difference, right? So driving that from Douala, beating the traffic and getting to Boya, and just seeing the topography, seeing the dirt, really, stopping at Monya where my brother-in-law was, and talking to him about I Am Cameroon, every opportunity, right, that I had to engage somebody, to say something about this audacious goal. I was met with laughter at first, you know, like, really? You think you're gonna come clean Cameroon for us? I said, no, I'm not coming to clean Cameroon for you, I'm just bringing the idea. You know, so it's just little nuggets, it's just little nudges that make people interested. And then he called me later and says, you know, I'm going to see the mayor for some other business. Why don't you come with me? I like what you're saying. And that is how I got to meet, you know, our mayor, the mayor of Boya, Barrister David Mafani Namange. And I brought up the conversation with him as well. And, you know, certainly he was impressed, and I've made sure that he's aware of this group. But it starts slow, it starts small, right? But it is bringing this conversation, it is inviting people. We will not get to 5 million, you know, by being in silos and insular. It is having those conversations. Every opportunity that one has is to just bring it up and not be surprised that, you know, you're going to be met with laughter. It is to bring it up. And so that was my experience in Cameroon, seeing it from the eyes of someone from the diaspora, but being able to appreciate it from the eyes of those who are on the ground. It just seems like an impossible task until you do the one little thing. And if you would, you know, bear with me, I'll just give an example of one little thing. So the road leading to my mother's house, beautiful houses, really was messed up. And so we figured, let's call the neighbors to just hire a few guys to just put some cement and gravels to fill the potholes. And we were met with, no, it is not important. You know, we don't even use this road the way you guys use the road, the way my mother used the road. But she doesn't have a car. She's one who doesn't have a car. But they claim that she is the one using the road. So we built the road for her. Once we did that, the guys who did the road left the bags of cement at the top of the hill. So when we went to inspect the road, I gathered it, you know, in full vision, carrying it down to go put it in the trash behind my mother's house. But this is what happened. The next day, the neighbors came out and they started weeding in front of their own houses. So why am I saying this? That sometimes someone just has to do something, and then others would follow. So yes, Magboro fixed the road, and her daughter from America picked up the trash to inspire. You see, I talked about inspiration, to inspire the neighbors to come out and weed, because sometimes it's the weeds and the grass that block the pathways, the waterways, and the gutters. But they came out and they weeded. So now we fixed the road, but the road looks good because everybody came out and did their front yard. We did the road, but they did their front yard. And so meet people where they are. And this is a way of okay, it's starting at the diaspora, but we're going to meet our brethren. We're going to meet our brothers, our mothers, and our brother-in-laws where they are. And hopefully that little bit of inspiration will then take it a step further, because they know the waterways. We don't know the waterways. They will know exactly which gutter to go clean. And that, I think, is the hope. And we certainly know that we cannot do it without engaging local authorities. So it's not one or the other, it is doing both. It is cleaning the little road. So that is in front of your house. That is the local, what you can do for sure. You don't need the government to help you there to clean the road in front of your house and the gutter in front of your house. Certainly you can do that. But not to discount the fact that when one has an opportunity to meet and greet the mayor to say something, not to lose that opportunity to say something, because even if nothing is done at that moment, it registers. So the next time, someone sees or hears about I Am Cameroon or about a cleanup project, say, oh, I remember Tabe had said something about this. So that is what I'm trying to inspire all of us to do what you can do for yourself locally in front of your house, but also not to forget the big picture. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Tabe, for that inspirational story that really sets the example of it. Just taking that one step inspires people. There's the saying that setting a good example is not the best way to lead. It is the only way to lead. And I think showing the example, taking initiative in itself inspires a lot of people. Or hopefully this is going to inspire millions of Cameroonians. It's our hope that people participate in this initiative. Let's just talk a bit about the need for this project based on your observations, like traveling from up to Buea. When we talk about the need for a cleanup, is this something that's visible when you travel in Cameroon, when you arrive Douala, when you're traveling through Likumba and all of that? Is it a visible that there is an obvious need for a big time initiative like this?
It is so obvious, it seems impossible. And I'll just tell you up front, it is so obvious that it is easy to be discouraged when you see it. And so rather than focus on just how big the piles are and just how many of them, and some encroaching on the roads, narrowing the roads, it seems so big that I can see some people waiting for an act of God to come do it. But being that we were all made in God's image, the act of God is in us. So, the water came. You might say the water was an act of God to come sweep as much dirt as possible, but it is so blatant. It is so blatant that it makes people chuckle and flat out laugh when you even say this audacious goal to clean up this. How are you going to clean it up? I mean, they really laugh at you. But again, by example, doing a little something, engaging influencers, local, public, all levels, everybody, even the mommy at the market needs to be engaged, needs to see something in it for them. It's unfortunate, but people have to see something in it for them. And the why do I need to clean the gutter in front of my house when the dirt up the hill is just so much, it doesn't really make sense. But I think it's to make sense that, yes, by cleaning the gutter in front of your house, you're starting something. By the time everybody cleans the gutter in front of their house, and talk to the mayor and talk to the local quartier chief, maybe the one up the hill, something would happen. And, we will join and go do that. But we need to see why. Why is it important for me to do it, to prevent mosquitoes? So when my children and grandchildren come to see me, from Yaoundé or wherever they're coming from, let mosquito not bite them. So people have to see something. Or when we're trying to rush to the hospital, let the pile of trash not prevent us from taking grandma to the hospital. People have to see the why it is in it for them. And I'll give you another anecdote. Flying recently, the air hostess said, please bring up the back of your seat so you don't hurt your back. And all of a sudden, because I know sometimes that this air hostess tell you to fasten your seatbelt and bring the back of your seat up, that some people roll their eyes. But because he says, so you don't hurt your back, guess what? Everybody was trying to get their seat back up because now it was something for them. It was just something that the air hostess says all the time. This time she said, so you don't hurt your back when the flight is getting ready to land. And so now people knew why. Of course, I always know that this is why we do it. But by her saying it, gave us the why to quickly put our seat backs up. So this is to give us, I think this forum here is to give us the why. Why do we need to do this? Everybody wants to come to Benga Wakala, right? Everybody wants, because Benga Wakala is, I'm talking now, PGB. If you're Cameroonian, you know what Benga Wakala is. When you have to come to Benga, it is clean. People are cleaning it. Yeah. People are not throwing their appeals on the ground. That is why it is clean. It is not an act of God. Yes, the local governments and it has been going on for years to become the norm. Yeah. But nobody says we cannot start the norm today, but we need to give each other the why. So in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, it can become the norm.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tabe, for the inspiration today. You have really put this in perspective for us, because people must realize that this is not about us. We're catalysts. But this is about them. This is about the children who are born into this neighborhood, who get the exposure to malaria. And we know that children are the most vulnerable. The last 2 minutes that we have been speaking, a child has died of malaria. And that's as a result of the standing water. And standing water is usually the result of an unclean environment that festers or creates breeding opportunities for mosquitoes. And so we can save lives with an initiative like this. There's a lot of communicable diseases that are fostered as a result of garbage heaps. We saw the incidence of cholera that we had recently, and the number of lives that we lost, and many, many, many more diseases that are affecting people as a result of just garbage heap. We build roads so that we reduce traffic. We take garbage to the roads, and then we complain of the traffic. This is all about us, our communities, and no one, no matter what government you have, anywhere in the world, if citizens are not participating in the solution, if they are not taking ownership, there's no program, there is no project that can be successful without the participation of the people. So thank you so much, Tabe, for those comments. I see there's a lot of engagement here in the chat room. We love the engagement. I see some of the Bell Sonke, your comments about your mobilizing people in your neighborhood and in December, and do not be disheartened, because if this was easy, it would have been done. This is a big task that we're going to take. It would seem like we're going to fail, and maybe we do not succeed 100%, but I'll take 2% rather than nothing. I'll take 5% rather than nothing. If you can clean the neighborhood for 1 week, let's clean for 1 week. we will come back to it again and again and again and again. People will realize that this is what is necessary. I see Lily, and you have your hand up. A comment here on this big audacious goal, and then we're going to go on to talk about that communication strategy that we have been working on.
Yes, Ari, good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Saturday morning show or afternoon, wherever you find yourself. And Tabe, I'm really impressed with your story, and I just thought I should come back to it. People lived in your neighborhood with potholes and dirt and dirty courtyards, dirty immediate environments, and you made a difference. And I saw in the chat where someone was complaining about sustainability of that difference. So I want to ask you, how did the neighbors get involved in cleaning their front yards? Did you speak with them? Did they just see you doing it and they did it? Was there any conversation between either you or your mom and these neighbors on what was happening? How did they get to contribute both manually and otherwise to that cleanup endeavor in that neighborhood? Maybe such stories may inspire other people here, including the person who asked that question, so we know how we can engage our neighbors to even clean only their own immediate environments. That will mean 28 million strong for Cameroon if each person cleans their environment. Yeah.
So, I to take it back to where we are as Cameroonians, the only conversation that we had was about pulling resources together to buy the cement and sand and stone to fill the pot, because it's a hill, it's a little steep hill. So it gets a little rough when you need to drive that hill. So that was the conversation that Mama sent the boy in the house to go door to door. And it was not well taken, because again, it had to do with money. And I think there is a distrust when it comes to money. But that did not deter my mother to call on her children, the two who had visited at the time, to say, can you please do this road? And so by us doing the road and then picking the sand, the cement bags that even the people who built the road left on the road, to pick those up, wrap them. I mean, we were bending down and picking the whole street. We're picking just the dirt. And I think it was the visual, right? It was the visual, because they know that Mama's two children from abroad have come. They saw us. But us bending and picking trash, I think, was louder than words. We did not say anything or engage or ask anybody to do anything. But they came out, after we picked up the dirt, they came out and started weeding and, getting the grass out of the gutters and just the plants, right? Plants and stones and, stuff, because we had picked the dirt. So they did the grass and weeded. So there was no conversation. It was silence, not silence, but hello, but nobody asked anybody to do anything. It was so that with Mama's own yard should not be the only clean one in the whole street, right? I guess once you get out and you see and you go, oh, I think I should do mine too. So that's how that was done.
Thank you very much, Tabe. Lily, did you have any further comments? Okay.
No, thank you.
At this point, like people always think, I see a lot of comments in the chat room about the mindset. And let's we're just going to play a short video here that really appeals to the mindset. And then after that, we'll talk briefly about communication strategy and really open up, because Shadrach, I see you have your hand up. We're going to have an open forum just to talk, but let's just watch this. Just take a moment and watch this short video, and we'll get back.
Why is the lion the king of the jungle? It's not the biggest. It's not the fastest. It's not the tallest. and it's not the smartest. So why is the lion the king of the jungle? Because of its mentality. When the lion sees an elephant, it thinks lunch. When the lion sees hyenas, it thinks fight. It is the king of its environment because of its mentality. Now, could you become the king of your environment? Could you face your fears? Could you achieve your goals and dreams? The simple answer: yes. You can become the king of your environment. You are already the king of your environment. To realize it, all you need to do is change your mentality.
Well, I found this short video and thought that it captures the essence of many of the comments, because nobody is the king of our environment than us. Imagine we started up with a clean slate, and every house had its own yard, and everybody in that house had a responsibility for that yard. And in front of every yard was a road that led to the next house. And everybody who lived in that yard had a responsibility for the road in front of them. That's how we clean up the country. That's how we assume responsibility. That's the mindset change, because the mentality that we have the audacity to go up the road and throw garbage on a heap of garbage is the part that we have to change and decide that we are not going to be part of. That's not the way that it's going to be done. So I agree with the comments that have been made about the mentality and the mindset, how we have to change it. Unless we change it, and this video is in particular because it's the lion, and you know, for soccer lovers in Cameroon, for people who love football, the reason the national team was called the Indomitable Lions was because that team used to play with the mindset of a lion, where no matter when we were small, Cameroon used to be an 8 million country population and took on the bigger countries in Africa and was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to actually win, start winning the African Nations Cup. We took on the world, being the first country from Africa, that mindset to qualify right up to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Small countries with a mindset. It's the mindset that took us there. It wasn't the talent that took us to where we got there. And I think in the same way, if we approach this idea of cleaning up Cameroon with the mindset, with that indomitable lion mindset, we're going to make it happen. How are we going to make it happen must be the big question that everybody's asking in their minds. We cannot make this happen on our own. We have to rely on professionals. We have to rely on individuals and groups on the ground in Cameroon. So we have been working behind the scenes, really with an agency in Cameroon. Hopefully we're going to have a contract with them that will help us really communicate effectively on the ground about this big idea. So it goes beyond just us talking about this on Zoom, but that goes across the country to the villages, to you know, to the cities, to colleges, university campuses across the country. So people get involved. It goes into the boardrooms of corporations, in the halls of government, so people can participate, people can own this. It can be something that's embraced by people across the spectrum. So we have a plan, and I just want to share some parts of the plan. This plan, and we're going to pull this up, but it all starts with planning. This is not going to happen overnight. The way that we want to do it is World Cleanup Day is the 16th of September. The 16th of September means that we still have some time to plan. So we are in the planning phase. And in this planning phase, we're beginning by inspiring, educating, and engaging as many people in the planning phase of the project. With a good plan, we need to invest in the plan. I'm just, if Pedro, if you don't mind, if you can pull up the slide on the communication strategy, that'd be great. So first, like I said, we need to plan. Secondly, we need to fundraise to be able to form a partnership with a communication company on the ground that will help us mobilize as many resources as possible. So we have set up a website for this project, which and you can at any time go to iamcameroon.org, and you will see on that projects 237 cleanup. And you can share this with your friends and family so that we can raise the resources that is necessary for us to have an elaborate communication plan. So the plan, we're going to be fundraising. We're actually going to be partnering here with Ex Malaya, the musical group, to fundraise so that we can have the resources to implement on the ground in Cameroon. Thirdly, we need to organize. What I mean by organizing, meaning that we have to activate community leaders. We need to build a network of leaders across the country, people who are committed as volunteers to be part of this movement. And because every community will need to develop its plan around the cleanup on September 16. So we need to activate leaders. How are we going to activate leaders? We're going to collaborate with existing organizations. We're going to collaborate with Let's Do It Cameroon, which is already doing cleanups in Cameroon and has a network across the country. We're going to collaborate with other organizations. We've been having conversations with various organizations across the country. We also know that we have to engage local authorities. So we think that we're hoping that this community leaders would be on the ground to engage local authorities and work with local authorities to develop a plan of how and where activities will take place. Then we also must coordinate with Hizakam, which is a company that is partnering with local communities or that has contracts with local communities. And where not possible, find alternative means within those communities. In the next few months, we're going to have sessions that will focus on ways in which we can dispose of garbage. And those ways would include whether it's composting, whether it's separating, whether it's recycling. All of those things, we're going to have different sessions, with one session focusing on one aspect of how we're going to dispose of it. This has been done. So the last time we had a session, we brought in somebody from Mozambique who spoke about what they did there. So we had somebody from Nigeria who gave us a step-by-step how this can be done. So we're going to have all those resources that will be helping us. Somebody mentioned in the book that in the chat that it's been done in Rwanda. So of course it can be done in Cameroon. We're going to work, like I said, with a communication company in Cameroon they have come up with a great plan for us. And we want to make sure that we have the resources to engage them. We're really, really inspired by what they are proposing to us. But we need to activate social media influencers to be part of this initiative. We need to activate people who we can leverage their network to spread the word for something good or something positive. Maybe there are celebrities that we can engage in this process, and we're open to any suggestions of who we should engage in this process. Obviously, national media, all forms of media, we have to use in communication, radio, television, billboards, banners across communities, that for the 2 months leading up to September 16, that it's visible across the country. Then on the day of the event, we also need to provide some resources, because it's really good when people see other people taking action. And working with the community leaders that we would have activated, we hope to have a set of t-shirts and baseball caps and water bottles and things that people can be visibly seen as leading this initiative. We're also looking at ways in which we can make this a fun experience that is not seen only as work, but that is fun. And we have this interesting proposal from Publicity and Design that in various communities, people can walk and clean, people can run and clean, people can do what, make it a healthy exercise as people come out in the morning to be part of this initiative. That in every community, people can agree that they would start cleaning from 6 to 8:30 or 6 or 9, 8 to 10 or 9 to midday, and end up somewhere, if I think about Limburg, end up at the community field and have some performances there, So everybody is excited about the end of the day, what we would have accomplished, so it becomes a celebration. We're hoping that from our vantage point, we could also take the lead in some 1 or 2 of the big cities, where we even actually end up with a celebratory concert that's going to be live across the country, and that people across the country can celebrate that we did this as a country, as a nation, one good thing. We will not be, I use this analogy that we see the national team playing on the field. There's 11 players playing. They represent the country. But every day across the country, there's 28 million Cameroonians that are playing with that Cameroon jersey. And when we think that the Lions let us down, we must also think that we let down the country like the Lions every day. When we throw a piece of paper on the street, it's like taking a goal against the country. So we would win that cup. We will win the cup. I know we'll take that cup when we mobilize 5 million people following our strategy. But we're looking to raise something like $100,000 to put this communication strategy in place, because that is what will move people. We're working, I think we've been reaching out to Let's Do It Cameroon. We've engaged. I was really, really impressed when Honorable Eto Enzo, I think he's on the call, said that he's working already on the ground to mobilize young people in the various regions in Cameroon. That's what we want. When we saw last week that people have already printed, what we call the jackets with 237 cleanup and already started taking action to clean up waterways after the flood in Kumba. We did have some pictures. This is the celebration that this country is waiting for, and we can make it happen. If we can put this plan in place, if we can find the support from people across the spectrum to be part of this, to own it, if you cannot, if you can donate to the campaign. If you can encourage somebody to participate, encourage somebody to participate. If you can be there and go down on the field and participate, go there, be part of it. Look, people already taking initiative to make this happen on the ground in Cameroon. So You too can participate in one way or the other. If you know a professional that can join us, if you know somebody who has the experience in cleanup, let them all join us. That's our goal, is mobilizing people in ways that we have never done before. And we just need to believe it, and we're going to make it happen. So that's our communication strategy. That's what we want to achieve. And I'm going to stop here and open this up for other comments around the communication strategy. But this is the goal that we have. I feel excited just talking about this because I see the opportunity for us to make a difference that would, change Cameroon forever. Just one day, if we can mobilize 5 million people in one day, September 16th, I think the story, the trajectory of the country will be different. But we have to do this if we can. And I see some people from the company that we're partnering in Cameroon, Publicity and Design, on the call. Thank you for joining us. We're looking to partner with you to make this happen. Thank you for bringing these ideas, believing in the idea and trying to figure out ways in which we can make it possible in Cameroon. So for the last 15 minutes, we're going to have an open forum, and we will be happy to take questions. We'll be happy to take comments with reference to the project. And I'm also going to encourage anyone on the Cameroon board, if there are things that I left out that anyone wants to cover, please feel free. But we have 15 minutes to engage with our audience here. And I see Shadrach Tabe has had his hand up for a while. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ari. Greetings from my end to everyone. The first thing is that it's a very good initiative, and I applaud you for that. I applaud you and your team, and I'm pleased to join you again. First, before talking about the communication strategy, which is the second point we are talking about, I'll take back when I was learning project management. They told us that they wanted to build boreholes somewhere in the village in the Northwest, but they built it in a place where, after they built it, the communities were not patronizing it. Why? Because they were going to the streams and they realized that at the stream they had opportunity to discuss, to gossip. So this second part of it, the strategy, I think that we should rather talk about the first aspect we spoke about, which is the mentality, building the mentality. Permit me say that Jalakwan, who is of late, when he was government delegate, he picked some boys around the community and they were doing cleaning every Wednesday, every first Wednesday of the month. And there was this guy, Michael Jackson. He was somewhere like a model. The way he does the cleaning, people were coming around looking at him, and you find somebody hardly drop something on the floor or around the streets. So I think that was a good strategy that they used to communicate around the peers, the community of Limbe at that time. So while we are thinking about this, communicating this strategy, joining your team, we should also think about what if we are successful in putting all of these resources together and we want to implement them. Then the mentality base is still very low. So my contribution is that we still keep on communicating, see how we can build the mentality of the people in Cameroon about this aspect of environmental awareness. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Shadrach, for joining us again. I believe you're joining us from Ghana. That's the first part of this conversation, and we've spent the last 2 months really awakening the consciousness of our people. Anyone who would like to be part of our WhatsApp group, You can put your number here in the chat, and somebody, maybe Lily or somebody, can help me collect those numbers, so that we have this communication group of people where we're discussing every day on how we're going to do it. We're educating ourselves. The first thing of this, I have to change my mindset as well. I have to change for this thing to happen. I'm not saying that I have changed my mentality. I'm not saying that I have the answers, but I'm also going to continue learning about this initiative and how we make it happen. The first thing is being able to, one, humble ourselves and accept that we have a development process for us to grow into this. We will keep educating people. We will keep inspiring people. We will push for that mindset change. But we also know that it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen if we can give people practical examples. We can demonstrate that we have leaders, we have more role models that we can follow for this to then it's going to happen. That's when you're going to have that mindset change. So I'm hoping that somebody is collecting this phone numbers on the board, since so that we can use those phone numbers, add them to our group already that currently already has about 91 people. We have to grow the number to 1,000, and maybe even have a second one, because we need thousands of people on board for this to happen. Let me see if any other questions or comments from anybody. Again, this is an open forum. All you need to do is indicate, and we will.
All right, we have Francis Massey.
Francis.
Yeah, this is Francis Massey. Yes, I happen to have traveled my spouse to Cameroon, and we saw everything that she already explained to you. I was one of the people who was very skeptical about the whole, process and, the audacity and everything. But, I've been trying to engage more and more with what is going on. And, I was in Cameroon firsthand, and I saw everything that was happening. And, I was picking on things that were going on in individuals' compounds and on the streets, and, why things are the way they are. And, we brainstorm with my in-laws, and, but there's something that I've been very passionate about in Cameroon, the sense of belonging. I brought it up to the mayor, and I brought the same thing up to the prime minister, some prime minister years ago. That was more than 20 years ago. Why don't we have our neighborhoods named, and our street names, and our lots and compounds named, so that people feel a sense of belonging? Okay, I grew up in between Boya and Bamenda. I grew up in Boya Town, and, I further continued, we're neighbors with Najela, them in Aziri, and, so why don't we have our streets named so that people belong to that street, and they take the sense of ownership of their, of their existence. We don't have it in Cameroon. And I think that's a very, very big problem. Okay, Mami Street is there. We went to Mrs. Agoro, my mother-in-law's street. My mother-in-law's street is a beautiful street, has beautiful big mansions, bigger mansions than you could see anywhere in the world. But that street doesn't have a name. So nobody belongs to that street, pretty much. She comes here, she goes out, tell people to let's clean the compound, but you go right from a house, you know how Boya is landscaped. Right from a house, you could see all the other compounds down, in the valley. You could see how they are disposing their trash. I mean, there was this big, huge house. I don't know how many families are living in that compound. There was this big, huge trash dump right in front of the house, in a corner right near the fence there. So my main, why I brought this up, I even mentioned it to the mayor. Oh, the mayor is like, oh, we're trying to do that. We're trying to name streets. We're trying to, so that, that if there's a compound that has an issue in some street, they take responsibility, and you can really go to that compound, or whoever is like the community or the neighborhood leader can really point to that compound and say, there's this lot, just like it happens here overseas. If your neighbor doesn't pull their trash, or your neighbor's yard is not well kept, you know, somebody comes up and tell them that because you belong to this neighborhood, you're bringing down the whole quality of our neighborhood by leaving your compound the way it is. You cannot be trashing your compound right in the middle of everybody else. And I think that sense of belonging has to be something that has to be ingrained in us. And I know that it's a different project completely to start naming things, but it's easy. You know, what I think could happen is for the university to handle, I mean, their children, their students in the University of Buea, there are so many universities in Cameroon now, you cannot even count them. Let these students start doing projects.
Yeah.
Which is going to redirect the way our environment is being handled. Give these projects to the students. Let them do it as their thesis or whatever. And, you know, our cities are not big yet. I lived in Nigeria. I went to school in Nigeria. I know how huge and how populated Nigeria is. If Nigeria can have communities that are named. I went to Nigeria without calling anybody to go to school. I was able to land at the airport about 30-something years ago. And I gave this address of my aunt's house to the person who was taking me to that house, and they took me to that house. It took about maybe 1.5 hours to get there. But it took me to that house to a country that I was just about 18 or 19 years old at that time. I thought the man was going to kill me because, you know, I've never had that kind of long ride, you know, came from a little towns in Cameroon that it took you like 10 minutes to go from one place to another. And here I'm in this big city in it, you know. So, you know, I just wanted to bring that point up. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Doc, for that contribution. And you see, the opportunities are bound, right? This idea of trying to clean up Cameroon would open doors for so many more opportunities, like naming, taking ownership of the neighborhood, community associations that are designed to ensure the well-being of people in the community, business opportunities that may be created for people within those communities. I said, it's just garbage disposal in itself is an entire business opportunity. Waste management is an entire opportunity that can employ hundreds of thousands of people across the country if we organize ourselves. We don't need any law. We don't need the politics of our time to create those opportunities. Those opportunities are there. Every garbage heap is a business opportunity. And now, to your point, Doug, maybe if we start taking ownership, defining our communities, labeling our communities, identifying with specific names, you know, maybe that inspires people to take ownership. And I also saw that some people say some communities are named, but one of the things about naming schools or businesses is that every organization with a name develops a culture, develops a certain level of ownership that inspires, that makes people proud, that connects people emotionally to it. And I think that's the point that you're making in this regard, that there is a big opportunity here if we start by doing something small, like the cleanup. Now, I don't see anybody's hand up. Before I go on to our closing remarks here that Nigella is going to do for us, I just want to remind people that save the date, June 23rd to June 25th. We will be hosting an annual, our second annual diaspora conference in Washington, D.C. It's going to be a fundraiser for this initiative. We are going to be partnering with Ex Malaya to join us. There'll be a concert style performance on Friday, June 23rd, and then we would have a conference which would really focus on how we are going to make this happen, how we are organizing ourselves to support the people on the ground in Cameroon to make this a reality. And Pedro, if you don't mind, if you can put up the dates on that will be helpful. If you can also put up the website for registration. I'm appealing to Cameroonians in the diaspora to save the date, to join us on June 23rd to June 24th for this. Hopefully it becomes a massive event. This is not about us. It's bigger than any one of us. And if you're looking for a way that you can contribute little to the transformation of Cameroon that we all hope for, that we all wish for, that we've all been dreaming for, there's no more wait. There's no Superman that's going to come. This is your time to participate. And the diaspora has a significant role to play because we can inspire our families back home. We can inspire the younger generation back home. We can be, we've seen our communities here in the diaspora. We see how they are. We know what is possible when people fix their minds to do this. So our website is iamcameroon.org. And if you are in the diaspora and you can join us or you can register for the event, please do. We have the slide on the screen. Save the date, June 23rd to June 25th. The website, if you go to iamcameroon.org and you click on events, you can register to participate in the event. Friday night, we're going to have a concert featuring Ex Malaya and other exciting performances. You can register for the 2 days of the event, and it's going to be only $200. Or you can pick and choose from the a la carte menu that we have. $100 would give you the Friday night evening. It's a fundraiser, that communication strategy that I spoke about. That's how we're going to pay for it. That's how we're going to pay for the globes and things that people are going to need on the ground to make this happen. Or you can just be part of the conference and join us for the fundraising gala that we're going to have. We had a similar conference last year that inspired us to now start thinking big and audacious about our role in supporting the people on the ground in Cameroon to make a difference. So please join us. At this point, I'm going to call on Najela Nukuna for our power close here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Array. Thank you, Tabe. Thank you, Francis. Thank you to all of the contributors of this Power Hour. It's been a fantastic hour today. If you have come into this call and you have not been inspired by what we have discussed, by the action items that we have come up with, then you missed it. So I'm just going to try and reiterate it to you this last 2 minutes. So you take home the message. So how did we start this morning? We started by Array telling us what our mission is. What is our vision? We are here to educate, which we did. We're here to inspire, which I think we did. And we have engaged. I have copied 10 numbers already that we will be reaching out to after this call, because we want to assume that responsibility for our own country. See, I have this personal discussion that I have with everybody when I talk about I Am Cameroon. There are 4 lanes. There are 4 lanes that you can take in Cameroon. And we have chosen one of those 4. And I'm going to tell you the other 3 that we have decided not to choose. One of them is to blame someone else, to blame the government. We have decided not to choose that because we've done that and it hasn't worked for many, many years. Another lane that we have decided not to choose is to stay and do nothing and just sit down and complain. We have decided not to choose that. The third lane that we have decided not to choose because some other people are doing it is to be political. We have decided not to choose that. What have we decided to choose is to own what we can do And what we can do here is change that mindset. Change that mindset of complaining. Change that mindset of finding someone else to do something that we can do. Tabe gave us an excellent example. Just clean up your neighborhood. Francis gave us an actionable item. Go to your Njangi houses and start naming your streets. We can mobilize these 5 million people. We can do it. We can go out and clean our next door neighbor. If you cannot do it, if you're physically unable to do it, drop a penny for us to do it for you. We need the funds. We need to be able to communicate this strategy. We need to do it in all languages for everybody in Cameroon who has an ID card or not, to be able to wake up and do one thing for us and make it sustainable. So take this from us today. We are a powerful force. We can do this. Pick the lane that we have chosen to be on and join us. Join us September 16th. Join us June 23rd to 24th. Trust me, there's so many other activities happening in the DC area. But pick the one that you think would be sustainable for you, your family. Tabe talked about what is your why. Find a why. My why is that I want my community in Jimafo, in Bamenda, to stand out. I want to be able to name my home in Jimafo so that when people come, when I bring visitors home, they can use that as a model for my next door neighbor. I want what Tabe has done just by going and picking that trash from the top of the street. How many people saw that? And it served as a catalyst to trigger others to do that. Find your why. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it for the health care of your community? Are you doing it because you don't want to see those bottles that were washed off by the storms in Boya right to the front of your yard? Did we like that picture? It was spread all over the world. It did not make me proud. And I'm not sure it made any of us proud. Let's wake up, clean up. September 16th, let's all go out and do it. I trust this group. I trust the power of this group. And thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Ari. Thank you to the team. We can do this.
Thank you so much, Nigella, for that powerful wrap up of the session, reminding us of the conversations that we've had here today and appealing to everyone's consciousness that we have the power in our hands to make this happen. So thank you. We will be back 2 weeks from now. And when we come back 2 weeks from now, we will be talking about our next steps. We'll be educating more. We'll be inspiring more. But please stay tuned. Plan to come back next week and 2 weeks from now, not alone. Bring 5 people. What if we challenged each one of you to bring 5 more people to these conversations as we begin to talk about how we unpack the plan, what the next steps would be, how we're going to make this happen. If you feel inspired today, do not wait. Call somebody. Tell them about what you've learned here today. Ask them to join our WhatsApp group because we're going to be having this conversation going on in our WhatsApp group. So that 2 weeks from now, when we come back to the next session, we have more people. And that's how we're going to mobilize. That's how we're going to build a movement. That's how we're going to make this happen. Thank you very much for joining us, for taking time on Saturday to be part of this initiative. I'm leaving here inspired. I hope that you're doing the same. We'll talk to you 2 weeks from now. Take care, everybody. Be safe.